Hi, this is Letty. In this video, I want to talk to you about what it's like to collaborate, to share and work with other people in the workplace. And of course, as I said in the introduction to this week's lessons, it's kind of tricky because sometimes we have to try to make it look as if we're different people who are using the same file and all on the same computer. So we're essentially tricking the computer into thinking we're multiple people. And so bear with me if it goes haywire, but I promise you that if you follow the book's directions, you can get through your exercises. But let's look at first things first. First things first, when you are in the workplace and you're working with somebody and they send you a spreadsheet, you're going to want to do some investigation. Or if you're going to send somebody else a spreadsheet, you want to do some investigation. What am I talking about investigating? Well, I'm saying that if you go to File and check for issues, you have an option called Inspect Document. And here are all the things that will happen when you click this inspect button. It's going to look for comments and annotations, it's going to look at document properties, it's going to look all over into your document to see if it can find anything that shouldn't be there or that you might need to be aware of before you either go on and edit the document or send it to somebody else. So let's click inspect, and when it comes up with something, it shows you that it's found something with these red exclamation points. It gives you an opportunity to remove these. Of course, if you do that, you don't really know what it is you're removing. You're just basically deleting them. So I would recommend not removing things necessarily automatically, but if it notice it's saying that we have hidden rows and columns and we have hidden worksheets. Well, that's interesting. Now we can go investigate further. So I'll close this dialog box and I'll go back to File, and now I'm going to see if I can discover any hidden worksheets. One of the ways to do that really quickly is to right click on one of the worksheet names and see if there's an unhide button available, and if it is, then it will open up the unhide dialog box and it'll give you a list of any sheets that are hidden. Well, right now I can see I've got a vendor sheet that was hidden, and I will say OK to unhide it. Notice now I have two sheets in the workbook visible, and the vendor sheet that has information about the different vendors I'm buying things from is here, and that was hidden before. So when I asked it to inspect it, it found a hidden workbook. Well, it also said there were some hidden rows and columns. Now, if you do a select all by clicking on the select all button where the columns and rows meet, then you can right click on rows or columns to see if there's an unhide. So I'm going to click here, there's an unhide, I'll choose unhide, although I didn't really see anything happening. I'll also right click on a column and choose unhide. And now I see very clearly that two columns have become visible that weren't visible before, a vendor name column and a vendor ID column. The vendor name column seems to have some data validation attached to it, hence that down arrow. So I'm going to just investigate that a little bit. I will go to data and data validation, and what I see is that indeed these cells have been set to only take information from a list, and the list has a name equals vendors. So if I have a named list, it would be vendors, but I can see there is no vendors list. How about if I make one? Since I'm interested in vendors' names being the data that's used there, I will select over the data of data vendors' names, and I'll call it vendors. That is the list, the named range that data validation was looking for. Well, let's have a look if it works now, and it sure does. So I can see that I'm able to choose any name in that vendors list. Okay, perfect. Now vendor ID clearly wants me to give it this information here, so that if I choose a vendor over here, and I'll just choose one randomly, it's going to give me the vendor ID here, and that is a perfect place to do a lookup. So the next video in this week will be about doing the lookup to just make sure that your lookup skills are locked in.